Thank you for joining us, everyone. I'm Melissa Begg, and I have the great honor of serving as Dean of the Columbia School of Social Work. We're here today to celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. Sheila H. Akabas, known to many as Shelley. She passed away in November of 2023 at the beautiful age of 92. Dr. Akabas was a remarkable force for change and served the school and the field of social work in important ways over her illustrious career. She was a renowned expert and scholar in the specialization known as the world of work. A born and raised New Yorker, Dr. Akabas graduated from the Cornell University School of Industrial and Labor Relations. Emblematic of her life of service and leadership, she was also a founding member of Cornell's Hillel Board of Trustees, where she remained active for decades. She then pursued training as a labor economist, earning her doctorate from NYU. She began her tenure at Columbia School of Social Work in 1969 as research director for the Center for Social Policy and Practice in the Workplace. And in 1975, she became director of the Workplace Center and a faculty member at our school. I am so glad Dr. Akabas found her way to social work. Its core mission is to maximize human well-being and ensure that all can reach their full potential. And that's exactly what she did. Dr. Akabas's particular lens on that problem was through the opportunity to work, enabling all to gain pride and feel a sense of accomplishment, and to contribute productively to society, no matter the challenges one may face. She promoted the idea early on that companies should care about their employees and provide support when they are struggling. It was good for the employee, and it was good for the company, and it was the right thing to do. Dr. Akabas was a champion of equal opportunity in the labor market for diverse populations. As one notable example, she was instrumental in helping the New York City Fire Department to hire and integrate women into their workforce. In addition, she was deeply invested in issues of disability, leading her to serve in different capacities that promoted the employment of individuals with disabilities. Dr. Akabas devoted significant attention to the issue of social justice for people with mental health conditions and served on the statewide Educational Advisory Board of the New York State Office of Mental Health. She also served on the executive committee of the President's Committee on Employment of People with Disabilities. Dr. Akabas contributed substantially to the school's curriculum, leading the world of work as a field of practice and social enterprise administration as a special concentration. She became an internationally renowned expert and scholar of human resource management, disability policy and practice, and delivery of social services to workers. She served as the principal investigator on numerous government and foundation-funded research projects and as consultant to corporations, trade unions, and nonprofit institutions in the US and abroad. I wish I'd had the opportunity to work with Dr. Akabas myself. She had retired from Columbia in 2013, 6 years before I joined the school. I did have a very memorable and impactful interaction with her in her role as Director Emerita of the Workplace Center. It was in 2022 when her successor, our wonderful and accomplished colleague, Lauren Gates, was getting ready to retire, and there was not an obvious choice for the next director. Shelley heard about this and was very concerned about the center's continuation, and she wanted to talk about it. And she was a formidable force who spoke with great conviction and principle about the center's future. Fortunately, a new leader emerged in Dr. Craig Schwalbe, who will later share his reflections on Dr. Akabas. Despite never having met her in person myself, I feel as though I did meet Dr. Akabas. And that is not due to this one interaction that we had over the phone, but rather it was due to the extraordinary feedback that I always receive from our alums around the country and around the world whenever I have the privilege of meeting with them. As a matter of fact, it happened last night. I was at an alumni event in Los Angeles, and of course I ran into former students, graduates of our program, who were speaking glowingly of Dr. Akabas and the impact she had on them. These alums are really remarkably talented, dedicated, and effective leaders. And so many of them attribute their skills, their inspiration, and their success to Dr. Akabas. I can think of no better tribute for a professor than to be remembered so richly and so warmly by your students. We are honored and proud that Dr. Sheila Akabas was a part of the CSSW community and are deeply grateful that so many of her former students, colleagues, and her family are here at this event to celebrate her life and her contributions altogether. That speaks volumes about her legacy and her impact. Now, it is my pleasure to turn the mic over to Dr. Lauren Gates, former director of the Workplace Center, who will share some of her remembrances.
Thank you, Dean Begg, and thank you, CSSW, for giving me this opportunity to remember and to honor Shelley. As Dean Begg mentioned, Shelley was the director of the Center for Social Policy and Practice in the Workplace, or the Workplace Center, for over 40 years. And I had the incredibly good fortune to work with her at the center for 25 of those years. So had a ringside seat to witnessing the impact that she made on our world. In 1969, the Workplace Center was funded with a grant from the Vocational Rehabilitation Services of the then Department of Health, Education, and Welfare as a regional rehabilitation research and training center. It was created to ensure access to careers for those with life circumstances that often undermine labor force participation, define the roles of labor and management in resolving social workplace issues, and identify the intersection of social welfare in the workplace in the interest of improving service delivery and building inclusive workplaces. Her commitment to the workplace issues was forged out of her lifelong strong belief in economic justice that was shaped by the inequality she experienced personally, as well as what she witnessed experienced by others. And she was inspired by her role models, including women like Eleanor Roosevelt and Frances Perkin, but also very strongly by her family, her parents, and her husband, Aaron, who was always her constant moral compass. According to Shelley, access to a good career was not only for those who had the resources to pursue their interests, but it was a right. It was a right that should be available to anyone who wanted it. With Shelley as the director until her retirement in 2013, the Workplace Center grew to be recognized as a premier research policy and program development institute. Her expertise was sought by policymakers at all levels of government, as well as for-profit, nonprofit, and union leadership. The examples abound, some of which Dean Begg has already shared with us. But she was invited to serve on the executive committee of the President's Committee on Employment of People with Disabilities, through which she provided input into the development of the groundbreaking Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990. She served for 10 years as the chair of the Technical Advisory Committee to the Dole Foundation for Employment for People with Disabilities. She acted as a consultant on employment policy to the United Nations and was instrumental in the development of employment policies in Kazakhstan and Bulgaria. She offered expert testimony to the New York City Council on employment strategies, including, for example, New York City's homeless population. She assisted employers ranging from large companies to public sector agencies such as the New York City Fire Department, to major unions such as AFSCME District Council 37 or SEIU Local 1199, in the development of inclusive workplaces and workplace policies related to a gamut of social issues such as sexual harassment or discrimination based on gender, age, and disability. And she translated research into practice across employment sectors, including return to work programs for injured workers, disability management programs, employee assistance programs or member assistance programs, and community-based vocational programs for people with challenging life circumstances, including veterans, people with disabilities, out of school, out of work young people, people who experience substance abuse, older workers, people who have criminal or juvenile justice involvement, people with foster care system involvement, and the list goes on. Based on the research she spearheaded, some of these programs have become nationally recognized as evidence-based practice and continue to be the gold standard for career preparation for people with challenging life circumstances. As a consequence, although small, the Workplace Center was mighty. The impact on policy and practice within New York, nationally and internationally, stretched way beyond its size. These policies and programs have had a direct effect on really huge numbers of people and employing organizations, but it was individual experience that hit home the importance of her work. For example, there was one woman who told us that until she participated in a workplace center vocational program that was initiated at her mental health care center, that she would spend her days sitting in the corner of a community room with her sunglasses on, rocking back and forth, as she put it, waiting to die. Once connected to meaningful work, she looked forward to the day, and hugging Shelley, she said, "You literally saved my life." Or a young man in a juvenile justice facility who was told repeatedly by the adults in his life that he would never amount to anything, but after graduating from a workplace center program and landing and sustaining a job at a large pharmacy chain, was recognized as an outstanding worker and given numerous promotions. Or the aha moment Shelley often had with supervisors resistant to hiring people with challenging life circumstances, when they realized that accommodation to these challenges was not only a way to help these individuals be effective at work, but a structure for good supervision that would support morale and productivity for all workers. For those who knew Shelley, you'll understand it when I say that she was a force of nature. And for me, it was kind of embodied where in going to meetings with her, I literally had to jog to keep up with her normal walking pace on our way to wherever we were going around the city. And working with her was not easy. She did not mince words if she disagreed with you. She did not tolerate effort that was less than 2,000%. But she was generous, she was funny, she was caring, she was fearless, and she was brilliant. And she was my mentor, she was my colleague, and my dear, really dear friend. Above all, the Workplace Center, her legacy stands as a testament to her relentless efforts to make our world better. It remains small but mighty, but poised to continue in its mission to promote economic justice under the stellar leadership of both its current director, Craig Schwalbe, and its program director, Gwen Kirkbride. The bright future is in very large part due to the foundation she built and the trajectory she set for the center's work. Shelley, you are really greatly missed. Now I'd like to introduce you to Sam Akabas. Shelley always drew enormous pleasure and inspiration from her grandchildren, and she loved to regale us with endless stories about their escapades and their incredible achievements. But don't worry, Sam, I will spare you the embarrassment of sharing how frequently Shelley told stories of admiration that were all about you. Take it away, Sam.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Good evening, everyone. And thank you very much for the opportunity to address you all. It's my honor to speak to you about Dr. Akabas, also known to me as Grandma, and as a proud graduate of Columbia University School of Social Work, Professor Akabas. As her grandson, student, and mentee, I've had the unique privilege of experiencing her brilliance, compassion, and dedication from multiple perspectives. I'll defer to using Shelley or Dr. Akabas so that I can get through the whole thing and spare you any tears. Many of the incredible speakers have shared and will share with you details of her as a colleague and friend, so I'll stick to what I can offer from my perspective. Her journey began at Cornell University, where she enrolled in the School of Industrial and Labor Relations at the age of 16. Graduating first in her class at just 19 years old, a feat not even another Akabas has been able to replicate. Her love of her family, her colleagues and students at Columbia University, and her friends was closely followed, or maybe sometimes exceeded, by her love for Cornell. Not surprisingly, my higher education journey, my father's, my aunt's, and many of my cousins also began at Cornell. I've come to understand that once she felt she'd found a good thing, she did everything in her power to help others obtain it and experience it as well. She went on to earn her PhD in economics from NYU and became one of the first women to join the tenured graduate school faculty at Columbia University. One of the wisest decisions made by both my grandfather and Columbia University was to generally clear a path and stay out of her way. What set my grandmother apart at work was her ability to see beyond the conventional boundaries of social work. She recognized that the workplace was a critical arena for addressing social issues. In an era when companies rarely consider the emotional and physical challenges affecting their employees' work, Shelley and her colleagues urged management to take a more holistic approach, much of which has become industry standard for workplaces throughout the country and the world. One of her most significant contributions was the development of the Social Enterprise Administration program. My one rebellion was to choose the Advanced Generalist Practice in Programming instead of going full-blown SEA. So I'm glad that her colleagues and others are here to speak to her contribution to SEA. She also translated that approach when guiding me in my personal and professional life. There were no barriers, just speed bumps. She always pushed me to have higher expectations of myself than anyone else, and at the same time gave me the encouragement and support and resources to be able to deliver on those expectations, as she did with everyone. And she always led by example, applying herself tirelessly and relentlessly to ascending the next peak, only to set her sights on the next and then the next. Her vision was revolutionary. She advocated for training superior supervisors to identify struggling employees and workplace stressors. She pushed for companies to provide direct services and link employees with community resources. This approach wasn't just about improving workplace conditions, it was about transforming lives. It stemmed most directly from her love for her own work. And wanting all people to have access to the fulfillment, the security, and the meaning that the world of work had provided her. Shelley's impact extended far beyond the walls of Columbia University. Over her long career, she educated more than 1,000 students and mentored hundreds more. As one of those students and mentees, I can attest to the profound influence she had on shaping not just our careers, but our worldviews. This wasn't just a personal, professional interest. It was a deeply held personal conviction that informed everything she did. She and my grandfather, Aaron, were active members of B'nai Jeshurun, demonstrating a commitment to their faith and community that paralleled their professional dedication. The lines between life and work for her were always very blurry. In the same way that she celebrated life events at work, like bringing bagels in when I was born, and recruiting me and other relatives to her student ranks, she brought work home with her all the time, like countless colleagues and students who joined us for holiday dinners and family events, many of whom are with us today. Her reach and influence were truly expansive. As her grandson, I had the privilege of seeing another side of her. Sorry. Despite her numerous professional accomplishments, she always made time for family. She picked me up every Tuesday from elementary school, take me to the park, hosted every holiday dinner, and I do mean every, and took me and my family on trips to places that opened our minds to other ways of life. In keeping with her persistent focus on translating policy and doctrine into practice, I am proud to have co-founded Journey Healthcare, which owns and operates nursing homes across the country and employs over 2,000 people. Every single one of our employees has access to a full suite of benefits and assistance and supportive programs. And his leadership team includes a director of diversity. While she might take a little, or maybe even a lot of credit for where I stand today, if she were here today, after she was done felling, she would say to me and to each of us, I always knew you could do it. Each of us carries a piece of her passion for social justice, and her belief in the transformative power of work. Dr. Akabas was more than just a pioneering social work professor, although that would have been more than enough. She was a visionary, who recognized the profound connection between work and well-being. She was a mentor who inspired countless students to push boundaries and challenge conventions. And she was a grandmother who taught us the importance of combining professional excellence with personal compassion. Her work has touched countless lives, from the students she taught to the workers who benefited from the policies and practices for which she advocated. As we move forward, we honor Shelley's legacy by continuing to push for equal opportunities, by recognizing the dignity of all work, and by never losing sight of the human element in our professional endeavors. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sam. Hi, everyone. So beautiful, agreed. Really powerful words and tough act to follow. But for those of you who I haven't met, my name is Rebecca Akabas. I appreciate sharing a couple of words, just I'll keep it brief, about my relationship with Dr. Akabas, who Shelley, who I knew her day to day, but I had the privilege of getting to know Dr. Akabas, or Shelley, personally and professionally at the exact same time. And it was as intimidating as it sounds, coming at both of these worlds at the same moment, essentially. I met Shai, Shelley's second grandson, and now my husband, just as I had learned that I was accepted to the School of Social Work and found myself at the center of probably her two greatest passions in life, right? The workplace center, as we've heard so much about already at CSSW, and matchmaking for those that she loved. And from that moment forward, I really felt like she had taken me a bit under her wing, a social work fairy godmother of sorts, if you will. And you could imagine that as soon as I had the opportunity to actually meet her in person and at a family function, knowing I was entering the program, she started to recruit me to the SEA track, just like Sam had talked about, right? Trying to bring everybody into this world that she had built and she was tremendously proud of, which, rightfully so. While it didn't exactly work for me as well, but by the time I was evaluating my second year internship opportunity, she had worn me down a bit, and really could not say no to joining her and Lauren, who was my direct supervisor at the Workplace Center, working on a cause that was really near and dear to my heart, supporting foster care youth with workforce training. And I'll never forget sitting in her office, meeting with her there, learning about the internship and hearing more about the Workplace Center, just looking around at all of the books, all of the articles, and just noticing her name as the author on literally the textbook for, what it means to have rights in the workplace and building career opportunities for the less privileged. I feel so grateful to have had that chance to work with Shelley and Lauren for that year, which was truly foundational in skills and in substance in a lot of ways for what has built my career today. They were both exceptional leaders and mentors. And again, another little anecdote, just remember a core memory for me of sitting in this boardroom. We had gathered with maybe 30 or so community and business leaders to try to drum up interest and support for different career opportunities across New York City. And it was just clear minute after minute that each of them had a unique story, a connection to Dr. Akabas that had brought them to that room and had been willing to participate in this program. And it just gave me such an appreciation for, all that was the Workplace Center and the magnitude of that. Think, again, having the personal privilege of being able to see her in both those elements at home with her family and in her work life, it just hit home time and again, what she was able to build professionally and personally. And, over the years, while I've come to feel like I have a little special place in her heart, it's just clearly evident that she has encouraged and looked out for, been a source of connection and meaning to just countless thousands, I think Sam mentioned, students over the years and other people in her life. And I often today, especially, just think about how hard it must have been for her as a passionate, outspoken, bright woman to navigate the challenges of career and motherhood decades ago. And though we have made some progress, still so many challenges before us, of course. And, finding myself in not exactly, but similar position, trying to balance that all today. We never really know if we get that balance right and how we think about, as Sam talked about, bringing work home or home to work. And I think to see just the outpouring of love, respect, appreciation, and just continuing to learn so much about Shelley's life from all of you and the incredible stories and accomplishments that she had. I think it just shows us that she got so much of that right. And we're all really better for having been a part of her life, even if I only knew her for, the last maybe 15, 20 years or so. It's been a privilege. And thank you all for just being here and letting me share. So this time to honor her.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Craig Schwalbe, and I'm a professor in the School of Social Work. And as Dean mentioned, and as Lauren mentioned, I'm the current director of the Workplace Center. So, so I feel so privileged to be here tonight to hear about Shelley and to hear especially about her heart and the depth of the support that she provided to so many people who are in this event tonight and who are not here. I came to the school in 2004 as an assistant professor. I had newly graduated, and I was not formally in Shelley's orbit. And what I remember is pretty much being afraid of her. I found her to be formidable and tenacious. There was a little bit of conflict in the school at the time, as some of you may remember or know, and she was very powerful. And so I was, to be honest, a bit intimidated. But I was always also, as I grew up in the school, I had the sense that I was being watched by Shelley, not so close. She kept a she didn't like impose herself into my life in the school, but she was always kind of around, and I kind of wondered if I wasn't supposed to move into get close to her. If I wasn't, if I didn't have a calling perhaps to to the SEA arena. A couple of years ago, Dean Begg confirmed that our what did Becky say? That social work fairy godmother must have tapped Dean Begg on the shoulder and suggested to her that she reach out to me and convey to me the honor of shepherding this project that Shelley started so long ago with the Workplace Center. My role here in this moment is to share a set of reflections that people have given of Shelley. We asked for brief remembrances and comments. But before I do that, I just want to say that the Workplace Center is alive. The Workplace Center is thriving, and the Workplace Center continues to do the work that Shelley started. I don't know that I will ever be able to walk in her shoes in terms of the vision and the power and the force that she was in this field. But I and our staff are working mighty hard to do that. We are working across the country in workforce development programs, in child welfare agencies, educational institutions, WIOA programs, workforce development programs. We've just been funded by the Urban Institute to expand our equity lens within career readiness development. So that it's an exciting time actually to be a part of the Workplace Center, and it is my privilege to be here. So as I mentioned, we collected remarks and remembrances of people in our community for Shelley, and we'd like to share those with you now. One person said, "Dr. Akabas was one of my favorite professors of all time and had a huge influence on pursuing clinical work in work settings. She was brilliant, funny, compassionate, and one of a kind. The world has lost a shining star and a champion for worker rights." Dr. Akabas was very kind, loving individual. Professor Akabas was an inspiration to me in so many ways. She was the reason that I chose to go to the School of Social Work and pursue a career in the world of work. I truly valued all that she shared with us and how she challenged us to think beyond what we thought we knew and to push the envelope. Thank you, Professor. You will be missed. Shelley was always incredibly kind to me, offering advice and encouraging me to take risks, speak up, and to share my opinions. She was a force of nature and is sorely missed in the hallways, but her memory lives on in all of us who knew her and were influenced by her teaching, good humor, and good company. Dr. Akabas's pioneering work and deep passion for EAP work was infectious and positively impacted my knowledge, training, and career pathway. Dr. Akabas was a fighter for justice, education, and access for all. I learned so much from her and so appreciated the time and energy that she shared with me. Dr. Akabas was truly one of the best. Much gratitude to you, her family, for sharing her with us at CSSW. I, for one, am forever grateful. Shelley was a wonderful and generous mentor. She made every class and assignment exciting. She opened so many doors for me, not to mention my mind. May her memory be for all a blessing. Dr. Akabas was an inspiration to newly registered students. I practiced her teachings throughout Indonesia, Thailand, and the Philippines. As one of Shelley's kids, I can say that she had a profound impact on my life. She was tough as nails, but also one of the kindest people, always fighting for the things and people she believed in. Although we lost a great person, I hope we can all see the positive impact she continues to make through everyone she touched. a wonderful teacher who influenced so many. May her memory be a blessing to all who were lucky to know her. Shelley's vision, insight, and innovative approach has delivered excellent results and has been transformative to the field. Shelley was such a dedicated and inspiring professor. She encouraged me in such gentle ways to give my best, even when I did not think I could. I will always remember her for that. And finally, just thank you. And now I would like to invite Paul to share some reflections.
Good evening. My name is Paul Kurzman, and I've written a few words about Shelley that I'd like to share with you this evening. For me, Shelley's contribution has been personal. While it's true that we collaborated in the world of work for more than 40 years, and I hope that the fruits of our labors made a thimble's worth of difference for our beloved profession. The unique quality which Shelley brought to a relationship was her dual commitment to what the venerable Sigmund Freud framed as being the very core of life itself, an even devotion to work and to love. Nothing was more important to Shelley than her family, always starting with Aaron, who was her devoted life partner, and then to her 3 children, Miles, Seth, and Miriam, their spouses, and 9 unique and precious grandchildren, and now her growing number of great-grandchildren. It was a devotion without boundaries, as it should be, and what one which Shelley knew was reciprocated as well by each of them. It is truly wonderful to be loved, but what Shelley possessed, which is equally as remarkable, was a boundless ability to love others, as she in turn was loved by them. Other colleagues and friends may speak about Shelley's leadership of SEA and the world of work at Columbia, my beloved alma mater, and her founding and her gentle guidance of the Workplace Center, which she built, and the remarkable success she experienced in winning highly competitive grant funding from both government and foundations. I would just take the liberty to say a few words about what I know best, the work we did together over the past 4 decades. I had what I have always considered the privilege of co-authoring articles, grants, and books with Shelley in a collaboration that was always hard work, but which inevitably proved fruitful and rewarding. The 3 principal books which evolved from our partnership, what we sometimes teasingly called our trilogy, was perhaps the best and most lasting of our endeavors. But publishing the first national article titled Industrial Social Work as an Arena for Practice, now 43 years ago, initially enabled us to frame the terrain of the emerging field of practice. The small grants which followed helped to mount the first national symposium on industrial and occupational policy and practice, a wing spread conference to specify a conceptual framework for the field, and then our ability to travel around the country to train faculty at schools of social work that wish to launch courses, field practicum sites, and specializations in this arena. It was hard work, but because it was with Shelley, it was worthwhile, even fun. Shelley was my friend, and I value that today the most. However, I also admired her professionally in so very many ways, because I think that in both word and deed, she truly was more a social worker than any MSW I know. Shelley was my Bertha Reynolds, and that's the highest accolade I can bestow. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul. And my deepest condolences to the family and friends of Professor Sheila Akabas. I obviously prepared my remarks beforehand, but it is amusing to me the running themes of a mother hen, a standard of care, a standard of expectation, and the rigor that was expected for any of Shelley's kids. Today we gather to honor and remember the life of Professor Akabas, a person who touched so many of us with her intellect, kindness, and unwavering dedication to the pursuit of social work. As we reflect on her life, we are reminded of the profound impact she had on each of us, whether as a teacher, a mentor, or a colleague. I met Professor Akabas in 2010 as one of the first fellows of the SCA program, now called Leadership Management and Entrepreneurship for Social Justice. Because we are a pilot cohort, we had the privilege of not just 1, but 2 years of Shelley's wisdom. I originally thought I would attend Columbia, taking the clinical track as a child therapist, but through a series of events decided to take the SCA track and now see how providential that was for me. Professor Akabas had a deep love towards our small cohort, and we felt very much under her watchful care while she was with us. The watchfulness also came with a high level of rigor and expectation. I have a distinct memory of Professor Akabas asking a question and a student responding with a thoughtful, informed answer, and her response was simply silence, a subtle nod, and then to go on to ask another thought-provoking question. She would never coddle us, but always pushed us to think more, stay curious and inquisitive, and ask the hard question. As a student, this was of course intimidating and forced me to be at the top of my game and participate at a higher level. But it also was a level of care that I can never forget. What many may not know, however, is the immense care and thoughtfulness Shelley showed outside the classroom. My second year at Columbia, I asked Shelley for a one-on-one meeting because I was particularly interested in learning more about the formation and execution of family foundations. When talking to her, she asked me, what if you had a professor that created an independent study for you to talk up with different foundations to distill the best practices of foundations? I responded, well, that would be amazing, but what professor would ever have the time to do that for me? She then responded, I would be that professor. She said it so matter of fact that I thought to myself, does she do this often? And now after hearing everybody's stories, I guess she did. We then proceeded to meet once a week, where she helped me initiate and organize interviews with multiple different foundations in the community, culminating in a 15-page study of the best practices of family foundations. Now looking back, this education is what I use most on a day-to-day basis as I oversee all three arms of my family's giving entities. I would not be where I was today without the belief that Shelley saw in me. She believed that I would make a large impact, and she would not stand for anything less. I am so grateful for the ways that she poured so generously into me as to many others. And it is with this gratitude that I would like to announce the Sheila Akabas Scholarship so that many other students could receive the excellent education that only Columbia School of Social Work can provide. Professor Akabas devoted her life to the world of work at Columbia University, and it is my hope that this scholarship will continue her legacy in perpetuity. Today, as we mourn her loss, we also celebrate the enduring impact she has had on all of us. We carry forward her lessons, her wisdom, and her example. We remember her strength, her passion, and the way she believed in us with a quiet strength. Rest in peace, Shelley. You will be missed, but never forgotten.
Michelle, thank you for this. Thank you so much. What a beautiful and lasting tribute to a beloved mentor. Shelley spoke so very highly of you. I won't go on now because there are others to speak, but it's clear you had a very special relationship, and she was a consummate mentor. So I really think you embody her tradition of high standards combined with deep care. So thank you from the school and from all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. That was really stunning. We appreciate your generosity and look forward to continuing to work with you. Next, we're going to hear from Jeanette Takamura. Jeanette Takamura is Dean Emerita of the school, having served as our dean for 15 years prior to Dean Begg's deanship. She unfortunately was unable to be here tonight, but she has recorded her remarks in a video that we would like to play for you now.
Good evening, everyone. In honoring Professor Emerita Sheila Akabas, I want to acknowledge the rich observations, wealth of recollections, and warm feelings already so eloquently expressed. We are all members of Shelley's fan club. As in the case of others, my recognition and appreciation of Shelley's contributions to the school and to generations of social work professionals is steeped in deep admiration and respect. Dr. Sheila Akabas was a woman who was true to herself and to her values and beliefs, passionate, courageous, persevering, and unafraid of controversy if the cause was, in her view, just. There are four themes, from my perspective, that course throughout her life as it played out in the school and in the profession. Firstly, Professor Sheila Akabas was arguably a giant in social work education, unmatched in setting the pace and shaping the entire field of social administration over her half a century of leadership, which included founding and leading the Workplace Center. It is no secret that the school, from its founding, has always been able to lay claim to leading pioneers who have stood heads and shoulders above in the profession and in the academy. The very history of social work ties back to the school. And here, the oldest continuing research center associated with the School of Social Work is the Workplace Center. The Workplace Center has contributed significantly because of Shelley's vision to our understanding of this nation's workers and work sites and how we can address the challenges faced by individuals who are either employed or could be if embedded obstacles to participation were addressed. The Workplace Center, in her view, was an instrument for enabling many members of our neighborhoods throughout the nation to actually hold a productive place in society. How important that remains today, and how sorely we may come to realize the importance of newcomers to the United States and its economy. Secondly, Sheila Akabas, the professional and the woman, was an individual of high moral principles, drawn from her faith and her belief in the workings of practical democracy. She would do battle when it needed to be done, and she could be formidable when she did. She knew my own personal appreciation of people who are straightforward and honest. Thus, we had a good, open relationship with much appreciated communication. Shelley never hesitated to share her thoughts with me, always to forward the school, and in her own way to mentor me. I appreciated her candor and her support enormously. I always knew I could count on Shelley's perspectives and her word. This brings me to the third theme, mentorship. When Sheila Akabas took you on, she took you on for her entire lifetime. She was always advancing the members of Shelley's fan club, generous and thoughtful, and reminding others of strengths she saw in junior faculty, in students and alums, all who had studied under her in social administration, now known as leadership, management, and entrepreneurship. One of her mentees, alumnus Lee Cortez, who is in the UK, peppers many of his comments with Shelleyisms. Finally, one cannot speak about Shelley without mentioning how she centered her family and Aaron, her partner in every definition of the word, in her life. She loved all of them, her children, her grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, and she loved them with her beloved Aaron. I was fortunate to get to know a number of her children and at least one of her grandchildren. I heard about them and their spouses and their soon-to-be partners. She was proud of each one. When I spoke to her about Ariel, her granddaughter, and the strengths I saw in her as a budding professional, her intelligence, her dry humor, her exceptional and respectful grace, Shelley noted that all of her children were gifted. Ariel, I think you owe me one. So while I could not be with you this evening because of a previous commitment, Professor Emerita Sheila Akabas, the woman, scholar, and professional giant, the founder of the Workplace Center, the mentor extraordinaire, mother, grandmother, and friend, they are all vivid in my memory. Her memory is a blessing.
Thank you to Dean Takamura for those remarks. As we come to a close this evening, Shelley's daughter Miriam Akabas has asked to be able to say a few words on behalf of herself and her family. Miriam?
Thank you, Craig, and thank you, Michelle, Lauren, Sam, Becky, Suzanne, deans and professors and attendees for honoring my mother. She was, from her very early involvement with DEI in the early 50s, before it was even called DEI, a true moral compass. She was formidable, fearless, brilliant, as everybody has said. She was also a wonderful mother, and I was her confidant. So I know all the names of the people who are here because I heard all the stories. My apologies. She was obviously a role model for many, and I believe she would have encouraged us all to continue to repair the world as best we can and to do as much as we can. I thank you all for your kind words and wonderful remembrances. Thank you, Michelle, for the wonderful gift to have her remembered in multiple ways. Although Dean Takamura mentioned 4 ways, you get to add to that. And I want to thank everyone from all of our family, and I appreciate your time and energy. Thank you.
So we're coming to the close of our time together. And as we wrap up, I just want to express my hope that our remembrances of Shelley have honored Shelley and have honored the Akabas family and all of Shelley's children. Earlier, I talked about the privilege of being here tonight. And I'd like to invite you all as you prepare to move into your evening to think about how you were touched by Shelley even this night. What it has meant to you to be here. And I believe we can keep the chat open, McKenna, for anybody who would like to share what it's meant for you to be here and to participate in this remembrance of Shelley. For my part, as director of the Workplace Center, as a professor in the School of Social Work, I take from tonight and I take from Shelley a renewed challenge to march on and to be better and to strive for excellence and to remember the people that I love and to remember the people who are who we intend to help through our work. We in the Workplace Center take seriously the legacy that Shelley gave to us, and my participation tonight has really been an important part of infusing our work with her spirit. And so I thank everybody who participated for tonight and for your presence here and for what you've given to me. I'm going to be quiet now and give you all an opportunity to share in chat what this night has meant to you. And you're welcome to stay as long as you would like. And of course, leave as you need. Thank you again, everybody.